just start. If you have a good idea, there's nothing holding you back except for yourself.
If you were starting all over from scratch today, what do you think the path to like fame and money is for a comedian?
The first thing I think anyone needs to have is confidence. Rejection is a good thing. Every person that says no or an opportunity that doesn't work gets you closer to that goal. I live my life that way. Humanity needs to band together and like not let the government or the media dictate who they can like and who they cannot like. If we don't fix that, we're in trouble.
All right, guys, bang, bang. I've got Madison here. I think one of the common themes of a ton of people I talk to is it's people who just like bet on themselves and kind of pave their own path in the world, which I know that you've done multiple times. When you think of that specific thing, people who are watching or listening to this, it really resonates with them. They're like, oh, I want to be able to do that, but I'm scared. Or like, what if it doesn't work? Or like, what are the 27 steps that I need to write out and make sure that like my mom, dad, brother, sister, everyone signs off on before I go do it? It doesn't seem like you did any of that. It seems like you kind of just like jumped one day. Like, how do you think about paving your path in a different way in kind of this like internet age?
Well, the internet's been great. Obviously, there's some downfalls of the internet, but the internet's amazing because it has provided people with so much opportunity that they probably wouldn't have had. And I feel like now if you want to be famous or be a content creator or be a brand ambassador, like you can pretty much do anything you want to, but you have to believe in yourself first. So obviously it's just starting. A lot of people don't start businesses because they look at step A to Z and they go, there's just so much to do. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm never going to do this. How about you just do A, B, and C? And then you move on to the next ones. And so it's always like, just start. If you have a good idea, sometimes you don't want to tell people about it because you just don't want the energy around it. But I think it's like, if you believe in it, there's nothing holding you back except for yourself.
Yeah. You mentioned if you want to be famous on the internet, do you think most comedians and people who like try to go do the intersection of content, touring, audience building, like whatever this way you want to describe it, is that the ultimate goal, is like be famous? Is it like a performance? How did you think about it when you first started? Like what drove you to actually want to go do this?
Well, fame and money are this
kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Or at least you think they go hand in hand when you start.
Yeah. So you want to be famous or else you wouldn't be putting yourself out there. And you wouldn't be like, when I started comedy, did I think that this road would be so long and that it would take me in so many different directions? Absolutely not. I would have never started.
Really?
Never started. If somebody told me you're going to start comedy, you're going to have some little successes along the way. You're going to meet a lot of great people, but you're not really going to have any like financial windfalls for over 10 years or 12 years. I would have said, I'm out.
Is that a better way to do it though? Right? Like, would you have rather the first time you go up on stage, it's a hit, there's like an agent in the crowd and they're like, bam, I found the next absolute savage. They're going to be the most famous comedian ever. Here's like $100 million deal. Or would you rather like
a
the
miracle?
Actually, I think it's called a fantasy. I don't think that's ever happened in the history of all of comedians. But like, I kind of feel like when you talk to comedians, like part of the thing that they enjoy the most or that they respect is that like anybody who's reached any level of success is like been on the grind a little bit. Is that true?
100%. The stuff you have to do, the events you sacrifice, the dating, your time with friends, missing weddings. There's so much you sacrifice for to get paid hardly anything to try to like become the next big thing and entertain these people. You have to love it or else you're going to jump off a bridge because it is a very depressing road if you don't love it.
So if you were starting all over from scratch today, what do you think the path to like fame and money is for a comedian, right? The internet's here. We have all these different people who have done so many different things. Like what is the path in your mind today where it's like, all right, this is the playbook?
The first thing I think anyone needs to have is confidence. If you do not have confidence, your road is just going to be a lot longer because if you don't have it, you're going to be hesitant to put out the content you need to get discovered. You're going to question everything. You're not going to take the risks that you need to be on stage. So it's definitely like the confidence, and then the confidence will equal being able to create more content because you believe in yourself.
So you think content on the internet is really the key, even more so than touring or anything else. It's like, how do you just create content? Now, maybe touring feeds into that or whatever, but it's like, if you have confidence and you can create tons of content and you're actually, funny, hilarious, whatever, then you got a shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. It's just a content game.
Yeah. It's amazing what somebody can do with a fan base.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've watched comics that are recently, they're kind of new, but they had a big following on social media and they wanted to do comedy and they're very successful. And because they have the big following, they can fill up the theaters. And you could be the best comic or the worst comic, and you can still book a theater as long as you can fill the seats. The booker isn't looking, oh, are you good enough for this? Do you meet our criteria? They're looking to put asses in the seats.
Yeah.
And if you can meet that with a huge following, guess what? You're going to make a lot of money.
Walk me through just high-level economics, right? So I'm a comedian. I start out. I've got a good enough following. I'm going to a city where I've got a pretty good base in that city. Am I trying to sell 50 tickets, 500 tickets? Like early in my career, what is like the size of the audiences that people are having to sell? And then what does that actually translate in terms of maybe the ticket price? And then how much does the comic get versus the venue or whatever?
So it kind of depends on the venue, but the experiences that I've had is when you're on the road and you're doing some of these clubs, you want to sell between 2 to 4 to 500, depending on what the club will kind of seat. But if you're an independent artist or an independent producer, so to say, for the show, some clubs they'll give you 80% of the door.
Oh, wow.
So if you can sell that out and you're charging $20 or $25 a ticket and you're taking home 80%, you had a pretty good weekend.
Yeah, a couple $1,000 right out of the gate and for, a night's worth of work. Now,
I did a Wednesday, I remember, in Denver, and I had that deal at the Denver Improv.
Okay.
And I got all my friends to come out, and it was amazing. We sold the thing out. There's 350 people there, and I received the check that night, and the next day I was on the table getting LASIK in cash.
What?
Oh, yeah.
So wait a second.
Yeah.
Your friends paid for your LASIK surgery?
Basically. I told some dick jokes, and now I've got 20/20 vision.
Yeah, that's perfect. The part of this that just I'm so fascinated by is like the internet created all of these different tools. And some people have used the tools amazingly well. Some people even use them to become president of the United States, right? Like literally anything is possible on the internet now. But the other part of it is it's not just the content creation, it's the monetization as well. Like, so you're talking about, hey, if you're able to get yourself in a position where you're kind of a producer of the event, you can get 80%. Someone somewhere along the way taught you that or told you, hey, you can do this versus the comic who just is like, oh yeah, I'll come and a couple $100 or whatever and I'll just perform. So like, how do you think over the last decade or so, the business of this entire industry changed? Is it just that like enough comedians tried enough things to eventually put themselves in a position where they understood? Or is it no, technology changed and so now people can do different things? Like what changed that allowed you to do stuff like that?
Well, I don't know if it like necessarily changed. So what happens is when you start being a comic, you need to get stage time. And so a lot of your gigs are unpaid. And so a great way to build relationships and get stage time is to produce your own shows, whether it's at a bar or a smaller room in a club. As long as you can fill the seats, the clubs don't care. So it's a money game. And so like you would do that and then you would learn like, okay, it's usually like a door deal. Which is great. I remember I did one show one time. I was doing like a temp job just to pay my bills when I was slinging as a comedian. And I invited the whole office. And the guy said, listen, the owner of the club said, I just want the drinks. If you can pack this place out, I'm going to give you 100% at the door.
Really?
And I got 90 people to show up from that office. I made more that night than I did like working 40 hours a week for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great.
It's pretty incredible how much of life is a negotiation. Like in other countries, you literally can go to a certain store and like you can negotiate the price. In America, maybe not as much. But like there are many things in life where if you are entrepreneurial and you have that skill set and you enjoy negotiating, right, which some people don't. But if you do enjoy that, like you can really put yourself in a position to be successful for simply producing if you're willing to bet on yourself.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you took two people and you measured their confidence level and you took the one that was more confident and you said, okay, you guys are given the same task. You're going to go into the same club and you're going to get yourself booked and you guys have the same amount of people that you think can come in, you can sell out the show. Who's going to get the better deal? The one with the more confidence. Because you believe in yourself.
How did you get so much confidence?
I didn't always have confidence.
Okay.
People were shocked by that a lot because I came off very confident, but I was heavily insecure. And I think it made my path in comedy longer because I was afraid. I literally lived in fear, constant fear. Just anxiety of like, what's going to happen? What are they going to think? What if I do bad and then my friends come and they think I'm a loser? What are people going to think of me? And finally, when I was able to kind of lift that through a lot of kind of like inner work and then listening to a lot of like self-help podcasts and just kind of realize, I think it was honestly, I came across a near-death experience video and I'm fascinated by these things.
Wait, what?
Okay. Like, so people, have you seen these videos?
What is the video?
So if you just type in near-death experience, there's going to be tons of them. So there are people that have died.
You realize that's a weird thing to search for on the internet?
Well, it came across like on my feed. I feel like it was like fate, okay?
All right.
So now I'm like, oh, this is great. So there's all these people that have died. They cross over. They either see their relatives or they meet Jesus or God. And they come back. And they're completely changed because everything is put into perspective.
Okay.
And so I was so fascinated by this that I started watching more.
Okay.
And then it came out that there was like a life review, right?
And they're basically, these are people talking about the experience of basically dying and coming back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just like how amazing it was up there and how we have a mission here and we have a purpose and my purpose wasn't done, so I had to come back. And what they all came back and said is that I have no more fear. I have no fear of what people think. I have no fear of dying. We aren't designed to be fearful. Our society promotes fear. Mm-hmm. And obviously the media promotes fear because they need to keep you tuned in and control. So the fear. So that was a video where I thought, it kind of put into perspective, wow, I could die at any moment. Any of us could be gone. Mm-hmm. Do I want my life review that some of these people talked about to be showing, oh, this is where you were too scared to do this. This is where you didn't believe in yourself to do this. Mm-hmm. This is what you could have been had you not been so fearful. Mm-hmm. And lacked confidence.
It's the Bezos regret minimization, right? Where basically when you're 80 years old and you look back on your life, how do you make decisions today so that when you do that look back, you have as few regrets as possible? And if you can do that successfully,
100%.
You probably live a pretty good life.
You live a great life because at the end of the day, like think about it, people worry about what people think and that will keep you stuck in whatever situation that you're in. But when somebody passes you on the street and they're wearing like a stupid outfit and maybe you judge them based on it for a quick second, 2 minutes later, you've already moved on with your day. You're not even thinking about them. So people need to realize like people will judge you, but they're really not that concerned about you. They're concerned about themselves. So don't be fearful of what they think because it doesn't matter.
This is like the troll problem on the internet is almost never do you see someone who's highly successful punching down, talking shit, trolling other people. It's always the people who are insecure, depressed, upset, have some issue in their life. And you should feel bad. Like it is actually sad that gives them some sort of release or enjoyment in their life. But could you imagine if Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or whoever was on the internet all day and like talking shit to, avatars, like just random people or whatever, like you just don't see it that often, right? Yes, there are exceptions, but you don't see it that often. And I think a huge piece of it is because those people are more focused on like what they're doing than on, how do I tear down other people? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think the key to happiness is to focus on what you're doing. Don't worry about other people, But I always say, like somebody asked me an interesting question. Can you cuss on this podcast?
You can do whatever the fuck you want.
Okay, good. Okay. Just checking. I'm like, you did bring me on. I've got fuck in my book title. And then I just had a brain fart. I don't remember what
Somebody
I was
asked
saying.
you a question, a really interesting question. And then you asked me if you could curse on the podcast.
And then the thought just totally
It escaped.
It's going to come back to me.
Can I go back to just one thing on the near death experience. There's supposedly like some kind of doctor or like person who helps people who've gone through this experience. Polina was recently telling me that she's like, there's this guy, and that's all he does is he like talks to the people who died and then came back or whatever, and he's supposedly like laser focused on like this shit's real.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, I 100% obviously believe in the afterlife.
Okay.
But
like, what's there? I didn't think we were going to have this heavy conversation today, but like, so I'm going to give you 2 data points, and then you tell me what you think the afterlife's like.
Okay.
I saw, I'm going to call it a meme. I don't think it was meant to be a meme. I think it was more of like a nice image that's supposed to speak very deeply to your senses. But I call those memes. And it was 2 babies in a womb, and they were like talking to each other. And they were like, oh man, there's nothing after this. Like, you know, oh, this is like cool life right now. You know, no, don't go towards the light, you know, whatever. And then like, it's like, then they're born and they get into the whole world. And so the whole idea is like, it just is the second version is like us saying that on, you know, on Earth, and then eventually there's some afterlife. But then the second thing is there's like the science community, and the science community will hit you with the like, there is no evidence. So how do you settle those 2 things of what I'll call belief, religion, you know, whatever, versus like the science piece?
Well, there are some scientists that have actually like, well, first of all, speaking of science, energy can't die, and we're energy, so therefore we can't die. So. And if you look at like the universe and the law of attraction, you go down that hole, we're a collective conscious, right? So your thoughts are creating your energy, you're creating everything. Now, for me, being religious, it's like we come here to have a human experience when we actually belong up there. So I think it's from what I've heard from people as well, but it's just this amazing life where there's no pain, no fighting, just peace.
Just chilling.
You're reconnected with your loved ones.
Which makes it even funnier when people are like, I got to the gates, and they were like, nah, go back, you're not done yet. Right? Like, damn, they didn't let you in. like that's how I always think is like, to some degree, saying I didn't fulfill my purpose yet is also a way to say like I got rejected.
I know, right? Well, it's like you can't come yet. So
yeah, you may get in later, but like right now you're not allowed in.
Yeah. So, but that should wake enough people up to where it's like, okay, so I do have a purpose. All of us are given gifts and given purposes. It's our job to then tap into those and find out what they are to be able to, when we do die, that we actually get let in. So
there's a movie, Coach Carter. Samuel L. Jackson, I think, is he plays Coach Carter, and he keeps asking the players like, "What are you scared of? What are you scared of?" And what he's essentially trying to get them to do is recite the famous poem, quote, whatever. Like we basically fear ourselves, right? Like we fear what we're actually capable of accomplishing. And I think there's a lot of people who will listen to this podcast, other podcasts, who they're like droning. Right, I call it droning. They're just going through their day, and they're kind of just going through the motions because that's what they think they're supposed to do. And the only time that they kind of get shaken with reality is a near-death experience, is something catastrophic, somebody gets hurt, something happens in their life that kind of shakes them and wakes them up. But you kind of look at this and you're like, man, there's a large portion of the population that are just droning. And so how do you think like
100%.
You can get those people out of kind of just doing what they've always done, and they wake up, 40 years later and like, oh shit, where'd my life go? Yeah, well, I'll share a quick story about, I didn't realize, I droned for a long time. Oh, you're a droner. I used to, not anymore, but I used to. And I remember I would wake up and I would be like, kind of tired. I didn't have the energy. I wasn't motivated. And I just felt like, oh, another day. And I would just go through the motions. And, it was like, oh, another day till closer to death. Another day closer to death. And you would say that to yourself? What the heck? Right. And it was a wake-up call going, what am I doing? Like, this is insane. Like, if this is life, something has to change. And then I'd go away for weekends. And then I'd get super sad when I'd have to come back on Sunday. And it was a wake-up call. Sunday scaries. Something had to change in my life. Why were you sad on Sundays when you came back? Because I didn't like the life I was living. So it was like
I hated
escapism.
Everything about it. Yeah.
The weekends were an escape, and then you had to come back to reality.
Yeah, it was like I was living for the future. I wasn't enjoying my life. I wasn't enjoying the days. I was waiting until somebody discovered me. I was waiting until I got rich. I was waiting for all these things instead of actually enjoying the moment, which is the present. And once I finally said, okay, this isn't going to work. I need to enjoy my life. I have so much to be grateful for. I'm getting rid of the fear. I'm going to work on my confidence. And that is where the magic started to happen. And now I'm excited. I love Sundays. I get football during the fall, and then I get to wake up, and I'm like, you know what? I like the weekdays better because I get closer to all my goals.
So one of my favorite questions to ask people is, if I gave you $100 million, what would you do in the weeks afterwards? Right? Like basically money is no longer a problem.
Yeah.
What would you do? What would you do with your life? And there's two answers that I find both equally fascinating. One, the people who are honest are like, I tried to get to 200 million. Right? They're like they understand human psychology of like, no matter how much you have, you always want something more.
True.
So like, I appreciate the self-awareness and just the brutal honesty. But what most people say is, I would do X. And X is like a dream, something that they don't think is possible, whatever. And I always ask them, like, why don't you go do that today?
Yeah.
Or start doing that now? And it's fascinating how many people are like, I never thought of that. You're just like,
I know.
Again, I don't have any answers. Like, I'm not by no means any different than anybody else. I'm a human. I do dumb shit all the time. I drone. I do all this stuff. Not really drone, but like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm a human like everyone else. But to not like just sit down and be like, what do I want to do? Seems like we are almost as a society selling ourselves short because there's no intentionality about our actions. We kind of are just droning along.
Well, no, and it's true. But I think also what happens with the droning is that people are so afraid and worried about what other people will think that they don't take the risk and they stay in that drone, because when they're droning and just going to their job, coming home, doing their errands, doing what they're supposed to be doing, nobody's really judging them or worrying about them. So
But
I think it
isn't
kind of comes down to that too.
Isn't cubicle life more of a risk than doing something else? Like my greatest fear,
100%.
My greatest fear in life is to have been, 25, 30 years old, go to work every day. Maybe now in most of the big corporations, you don't have to wear the tie, but you got to have, kind of dressed up with the button down on, everything.
Yeah.
And then just like go to sleep one night, wake up, you're 55, you got 3 kids, and you're like, yo, where'd it go? What happened? I don't remember.
And then you get laid off.
Well, just even like that's even taking it to the extreme. Like if you just literally work the same job for 30 years and then you wake up one day and you're like, holy shit, I just spent 30 years doing this, and like, what happened? That to me, again, people have all these, weird risks or scared of or fears or whatever.
Right.
That's mine. I would go fucking insane and then probably do crazy shit to like make up for it and like end up dying somehow, right? Like, but it just feels like that is actually the normal path that a lot of people take.
It's safety for them. It's an illusion though. It's their illusion of safety. But I think it's also because people are afraid to put themselves out there.
All right. So
or they want a simple life.
You wrote this book, Time to Lighten the Fuck Up, a self-help guide with a side of humor. If you didn't write this book, I wouldn't ever read it because it says self-help guide, and I'd be like, this is bullshit. But it's actually funny, right? And you talk about things that I think are the taboo topics. Like it's like a blunt truth. Yeah. And one of them is this idea of tunnel vision, which if I say focus, people are like, oh, that's a good thing. The way you describe tunnel vision is not necessarily a good thing. So talk a little bit about this idea of like tunnel vision and like why so many people get kind of the blinders and maybe it actually ends up hurting them more than it helps in their life.
Well, because so they get fixated on one thing, right? Maybe they went to college for finance and then they get a job on Wall Street and they're working and they're going down the path, and then 10, 12, 15 years later, they're miserable, but they're like, this is all I can do. This is the goal. The goal was Wall Street. This is it. So they're stuck in that tunnel, right? So any other opportunities that will come their way, they're not going to see them because they've got the blinders on because they're stuck in this like tunnel. But then you have other people too who said, I'm going to follow my dream. And they pick that dream, whether it's a stand-up comedian or an actress. And they say, I'm never giving up on my dreams. I'm going to follow this dream. And chances are you might not ever make it because it's a very difficult path to go down. So they're just struggling financially their whole life, hoping to make it. Some get really lucky and make it, some don't, but they're stuck in this tunnel. I have to do this. This is my end goal. Or they start a company that's not working out and they stay in it longer because they're stuck in that tunnel. Tunnel vision is not good, okay? I think it's always important to have a dream, whether it's finance, whether it's entrepreneurship, whatever it is, but always be aware of the other opportunities that can come out of having that goal. My goal when I started was to be a comedian and then to be an actress so I could help fill the seats of my show. Now, had I had tunnel vision, I might still be struggling and unhappy. But I decided to kind of look at the business and say, you know what? I love entertaining. I love writing. I love inspiring people. There's so much more I can do. So when I stepped out of the tunnel, I fell into producing. And I was really good at creating concepts and bringing teams together to do it. And all of a sudden, I was struggling getting auditions. Now I was sitting in front of some of the biggest CEOs in Hollywood talking about what I had created and that they were actually excited about it. Because I was a finance major. I came to them with ideas, not this is my passion and I love this. They don't give a shit. I came at it where this is where we can make money and this is why I think it's going to be profitable. But I was able to open that tunnel, and I'm still in entertainment. I still consider myself an entertainer, but I'm not stuck waiting for somebody to validate me. Now I've got a book, I've created television shows, I run side business. I do whatever I can to make money because financial freedom will set you free in anything you do.
So I don't think I've ever talked about this publicly, but I have a theory on what is happening in the internet age. And almost everybody I see publicly commenting on it seems to misunderstand what you're saying, which is there's a term creator. Everyone's like, oh, creator, creator, creator. And I get what they're trying to articulate in that. But to me, there is a rise of winners or a rise of just entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
It's not a rise of creators. These people are not creators. They are the equivalent of the mainstream or the Main Street small business 20, 30 years ago. So people would go to high school, they would get out, maybe they went to college, maybe they didn't. And then if they wanted to create economic independence or economic kind of bet on themselves and get that economic stability, what they would do is they would look around and be like, how do I create a business? And it was all in the analog world. So they would literally go and open up a storefront. They would sell something. They would create a service. They would come to your house, whatever they would do. But it was like a Main Street, small or medium-sized business. The really successful ones could go from a town to a city, maybe to a region. And if you were really, really successful, you could scale it nationally.
Yeah.
Right? Now what we're seeing is people are like, why would I ever have an asset-heavy business where I need a store? Instead, I can set up a Shopify page, or I can create content on the internet, or I can do all these different things in the digital age. But they're not creators. They are absolutely just entrepreneurs. And I use the term winner because you just said it. No matter what I set out to do, I'm going to find a way to be successful at doing this so I can create money so I can be free.
Well, exactly. And there's so many, like Amazon, you mentioned Shopify, there's Amazon stores you can do, very little risk. And you can see how it goes, and then you can kind of scale the risk, right? So you don't have to, take a year-long lease, and then if it doesn't work out, you're stuck with this lease. You can actually set up a store where you're not paying a lease and then just buy the product. So there's so many easier ways to do things. I mean, it's crazy. I'm not going to mention the name, but I just heard that there was a comic who has an OnlyFans page who's making...
You have to say the name. Who is it?
Upwards... Well, I heard it when I was doing the Bennington show. I think her name's Carrie Feehan. Great comic.
Okay.
She's got an OnlyFans page, and she's making upwards of $40,000 a month just on the OnlyFans page.
And that is...
And I'm going...
Is she uploading...
Am I the stupid one here? Because I don't have an OnlyFans page.
But is she uploading comedy content? Is she uploading nude photos? What?
She's got a great body.
Got it. So she is selling access or views, I guess. I never really thought of the OnlyFans from the individual uploading the photos. Depending on what you're uploading, like there's a lot of skewed risk reward. Right? It almost feels like if somebody said to me, hey, Pomp, if you upload pictures of your knees every day and you'll make a bunch of money doing it, I'm like, let me think about this for a second, right? But now if they were like, hey, Pomp, you got to upload a bunch of naked photos of yourself, I'm like, I'm out. Like, not my thing.
Yeah,
right?
you're out, right.
And so it does feel like when people hear OnlyFans, in some way, this idea of a paywall is the same thing. Like we're seeing paywalled newsletters, we're seeing paywalled podcasts, we're seeing paywalled what's essentially just Instagram, right? Like photos, videos, whatever. Yeah. Then we have the paywalls of the mainstream media. Like it does feel like people are realizing if you put up a paywall and put value behind it that people want, somebody somewhere is going to pay for value.
Yeah.
And then you just got to decide what is the value you want to provide behind that paywall. Today's episode is brought to you by Exodus. You can use Exodus to buy crypto for 0 fees for a limited time. They just launched a brand new wallet that allows you to use one wallet across all the different networks, Ethereum, Solana, Polygon, and whatever else you want to use. If you go to exodus.com/pomp, you can go ahead and use that wallet, or you can buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any other crypto asset. You can use your bank account, your credit card, Apple Pay, or Google Pay. Exodus is here for you. Head on over to exodus.com/pomp today to get started. Exodus.com/pomp. They support us. You go support them.
Well, exactly. Like I never did OnlyFans. I thought about it. My dad actually had a client who did very well. Obviously, he can't share that information. But I said, why are you telling me this? He goes, hey, we don't judge. I said, are you trying to tell me to start an OnlyFans page? He goes, this girl might have made more than my doctor clients. I was like, what?
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
It was insane. So, but here's the thing. There's a friend of mine who runs like a very raunchy podcast, and I go on once in a blue moon, and she has these porn stars, and they are pulling up to this studio in like huge Range Rovers, and they've got nice Chanel bags and all this. I mean, they could be broke because they're spending it all on liabilities, but they are selling pictures of their feet. They've got OnlyFans pages.
The feet shit cracks me up. I'm sorry.
I know, they're crushing it. And I'm sitting here going, buy my book? And I'm like, geez, I could just upload a picture of my snatch and buy a house.
How much do they charge for the OnlyFans? Do you know? Like the people uploading their feet?
I don't know, but everyone's like, why don't you do a faceless one?
I think that they should have a reality TV show where they go around and they find the OnlyFans subscribers and basically like interview them and just be like, yo, dude, you're paying $200 a month to look at pictures of feet?
I know.
We got to find out the rest of your life. Like, this would be an interesting ass episode to understand who you are.
I know.
Everyone's fascinated with the person uploading the photos, but like, I bet you there's some crazy stories in the people who are paying to see feet pics on OnlyFans.
Well, I didn't realize that a foot fetish was such a big thing.
Is that real?
It is real. There was a guy who worked as a chef in one of the comedy clubs, and I don't know which one it was, but he apparently was public about his foot fetish. And I don't have ugly feet. I don't have bunions or anything like that. But apparently, I remember in my acting days, there was a job where I could go and model shoes. And it was like $400 for the day. It was on a Saturday. It was like at a convention center. It was like a shoe show. And so she goes, send me a picture of your foot because you're the ideal size. And then she comes back and she goes, unfortunately, you don't qualify because your feet don't meet the criteria.
Yeah,
like she basically told me I have ugly feet because apparently my second toe's longer than my first, which my mom always told me it's because you're a leader, but I think it's just I have fucked up feet.
Is that not what everyone's toes are?
No.
Really?
Apparently, to have beautiful feet, everything has to be like sloped down. Somebody
could tell me I was ugly. Somebody could tell me that they didn't like me, whatever, but they started talking shit about my feet. hey, hold on a second. What do feet do to you?
Well, I responded to the woman. I said, oh, I didn't know that was a thing. I never saw that my feet were an issue, right? And I just wrote her back. I said, well, I got beautiful fake tits if you need a bra model, so call me back. You know? She's like, good to know.
I also feel like I'm surprised there hasn't been more trolling of this whole like thing. So, you know, I'm shocked that there hasn't been a male YouTuber who's like, I'm going to start a feet pick only OnlyFans and like, let's see how much money we can make. Because I actually think that we live in this like meme culture where a bunch of people would subscribe because they think it's hilarious. And then it would end up becoming a thing. And then next thing you know, everybody who's rational and like rooted in reality would be like, what is happening? How's this person making, you know, 50 grand a month as a joke doing feet pics on OnlyFans?
Well, I agree. Who are the people? I'll do it. I'll volunteer my feet right now. Let's see how much we can make in a month. I'm in.
But it also is the experimentation. I do think kind of coming back to this idea of people who are betting on themselves and kind of pave their own path on the internet. The experimentation is really important, right? And we were talking earlier, Andrew Schulz being able to record a special, sell it, go direct to the people, which like, there had been some other comedians who had done it, but I think there's this like breaching of, yo, how real is my audience? How much do they kind of fuck with me, right?
Yeah.
Versus they come to the shows, okay, they come out, whatever. Are they going to buy a special direct where their expectation is normally it'll be on a streaming platform? And then, yo, if I release it publicly for free afterwards, am I going to offend the people who paid for it, or am I going to offend the people who didn't pay for it? Like it seems to have gone pretty smooth.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty big experiment to run with what is a major milestone in your career of getting a comedy special created. And so like it feels like the people who end up being the most successful are actually the people willing to do the experiments in order to figure out what works.
Well, first thing I'll say about Andrew Schulz.
He's not funny at all. We're not allowed to say that he's funny at all on the podcast.
Oh, I think he's great. But the one thing that this guy really, really, really has, I mean, he's got so many things. I'm a fan. He's confident. His confidence level is off the charts. So he's got that. So he is willing to take a risk.
Damn it, don't say nice things about him.
He's got, because I had crossed paths with him, you know, in New York when we were starting. He was always such a nice person. I haven't seen him for years, but very just nice person. But he's got the confidence, so he's willing, he's able to bet on himself because he believes in himself. And I also heard when he, you know, because I follow him when he was doing that special, originally they wasn't it going to go to a streaming platform?
Oh yeah, he
but
signed
then
a deal.
He pulled it because they wanted to censor him.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, these jokes are authentic. This is me. I'm not censoring this. This is what my audience wants. And then that's when he pulled it. I thought that was great. That is somebody who believes in themselves. And he's a great story of how believing in yourself will pay off bigger than just getting a suit to believe in you. Which suit meaning the head of a streamer.
There's a book, there's a crazy book. Robert Greene, who wrote 48 Laws of Power, a number of great books, and 50 Cent wrote a book together. I don't know how much 50 contributed to the writing, but definitely the ideas are there.
Right.
Robert probably did a little bit more of the writing.
Yeah.
But this book is actually fantastic. I've recommended it to a lot of people, and they're like, what do you mean? I'm not going to read a book about Robert Greene and 50 Cent. But what it does is it takes a lot of the concepts that Robert's talked about in many of his books, and it takes 50 Cent's life, and it basically overlays them on each other. And it's like, man, these concepts are really, really well understood by people in hip hop or people on the street or whatever. They just don't talk about them using the same language that Robert uses. So they learn the ideas. They pick them up. Somebody teaches them it or it's intuitive or whatever. And one of the ideas that he spends a lot of time on is 50 Cent's mixtape strategy. And the mixtape strategy is basically, he actually had a deal, I think it was with Columbia Records if I remember correctly. And on the night before the first major album gets released, he gets shot. Gets dropped immediately from the record label. They're like, this is too much violence. We can't be associated with this stuff. Like basically kick him to the curb.
Wow.
And they're like, we're done. Okay, you just got shot 9 times. Your mouth is wired shut. You lost your record deal. Like you just went from the night before the height of your career up until that point to like the bottom of your career essentially.
Yeah.
And so what he decided to do was he basically just flooded the streets of New York with mixtapes. And including would just hand them out, would do whatever it could to basically make people be like, yo, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And he essentially brute forced the momentum to build an audience. why it's fascinating is because you used to have to do that with a CD on the streets. Now it's like easy. Now you can just go put music out on the internet, go put it on social media, whatever. And if it's good, it takes off. But this concept of like, he was willing to bet on himself even after he had reached some, level of success. Now, he wasn't a megastar on a global basis or whatever, but he was forced to go back to square one, forced to go back to the starting point. And he still ended up being successful. And I think that that's like a common theme in a lot of these people is like, okay, one road doesn't look so great, or there's a door that gets closed or whatever. What's the next thing? Just keep moving forward. And they end up being successful because they're willing to bet on themselves.
Oh, absolutely. And also if you carry that mindset, like rejection is a good thing, because I feel like we're given a certain amount of doors until we reach our what we consider success. So every person that says no or an opportunity that doesn't work gets you closer to that goal. I live my life that way. And I love it, because that way when things don't work out, I'm like, life's happening for me. I'm now that much closer to the door that's actually going to happen. So it's that mindset. But he had the same thing. He was like, okay, well, it's going to work, so I just got to figure out a different way to do it. But 50 Cent obviously has extreme confidence.
Oh, he is such a better...
It took me a long time to get there, but now that I do, I feel unstoppable in my own way. But I also feel that my driving force behind everything I do is to help and inspire people.
Okay, explain that more.
So I feel like I have karma on my side. And I don't do it to have karma.
You believe in karma? You think it's real?
Absolutely, 100%.
Why?
I want to say it's just because it's what I believe, but I feel like...
But how did you build it? Like, when you were a kid, did you always believe in karma, or at some point did you go through an experience, or what?
Yeah, you do unto others as you want done to yourself. So if you're a piece of shit, people are going to be a piece of shit to you. I think it's just the energy that kind of comes back to you. I feel like we can't get away with that much. And if it doesn't get you in this life, maybe it'll get you in the next. If we reincarnate, I don't know. But I do believe in karma, which I think is a good thing, because obviously it prevents you from being a piece of shit. I'm not a piece of shit at all. I'm not mean. I like people. I want to help people. That's my thing. But there's a lot of obviously, corruption, because people want to just make the money. This is what I remembered when I said, can I cuss on this podcast?
All right.
Somebody said to me, I was actually it was weird. I was on a date, like a first date. We were leaving. We were at the Four Seasons.
Man, I haven't been on a first date in a long time. Those are weird as shit. All right, go ahead.
And so we're leaving this place, and somebody says, would you ever fuck for an opportunity?
He asked you that on the first date? I don't know to respect that question or be like, you are a fucking asshole. What was your response?
I laughed because I'm like, that's hilarious. Because I find
so
everything
he's being
funny.
He wasn't being disrespectful.
Yeah, I'm not somebody that gets offended. I hate the I'm offended culture.
Yeah.
Fuck that noise.
You offended me.
And I said, so I turned around and I gave him an answer, and I said, the only opportunity I'm fucking for is a chance to walk down the aisle with a wedding ring, okay? So if that's the opportunity you're talking about, then yes, I fuck for opportunity. You know what I mean?
Now,
and he started laughing. He goes, that's a great answer.
All right, I was going to say, somebody who asked that question has got one or two reactions. They get super offended, or they think anything is hilarious back. So he thought it was funny.
Yeah, absolutely. So he goes, so
you just saved that guy's career, by the way, because the internet sleuths would have figured out who it was and tried to cancel him if he was being an asshole.
Oh, exactly.
That's how the world works now.
Right.
It's
know.
You said something, and then they go and they figure it out, and they just pick a random person. They're like, this person.
Yeah, I know. It's so awful. But I have a whole chapter in here about being offended. It's time to stop being so offended.
I think that we should actually bring back the right for people to offend others. Now, not because you should go through your life trying to offend everybody.
Right. You don't want to be mean. It just happens.
The idea of offending someone usually falls into one of two buckets. Not every time, but usually falls into one of two buckets. Either you are saying something that is true that they don't want to hear because they don't want to admit it to themselves or whatever. And usually, again, not always, but usually in those scenarios, you're actually helping them in some way. Whether they realize it today or not, whatever.
100%.
There's a situation recently, a company I'm invested in, the founder went and met with a bunch of investors. They gave him some pretty honest feedback. He was very, very offended at the beginning.
Okay.
Fast forward about 2 months or so, he calls me up one day and he says, they were right. And to his credit, he went and he sent them a message and said, hey, I know that when you were saying that, like it was kind of tough, like, but thank you. Like you didn't have to tell me the truth. You didn't have to, like you could have either been, we're not interested, whatever, right? Thank you. You were right. Here's what I'm doing about it. And I thought it was like so mature and just so amazing to see somebody who did that. Now, the other side of the offending is like people are just assholes, right? And you're like, literally, you're just being an asshole and you should stop doing that.
Right.
But this idea of like bringing back offending people is we live in a culture where now people don't tell each other the truth.
Oh, because they're terrified.
Because literally if you walk outside and you're like, the sky's red and everyone's like, yeah, then you're like, okay, I made it through today. Nobody tried to cancel me.
I know. Do you realize that I actually said a prayer last night before I went to bed?
Okay.
And this is what I prayed. I said, I'm so grateful that I get to go on Pomp's show. I'm very grateful to you for having me on.
Okay.
So thank you. But I said, please don't let me say anything that's going to get me canceled.
There's a second piece to the cancellation story that I have realized recently. And maybe implicitly, we all kind of sort of knew this, but now we got hard examples of it. Did you see this guy, Matt Walsh?
Just recently.
So Matt Walsh.
He had a great video. Yeah, you tell it. Great.
He said a bunch of things that I think there's a lot of people around the country were like, that makes sense. When that happens in today's society, there's also a lot of people who say, asshole, cancel, whatever, right? So it was controversial. And there was a strong reaction in support and a strong reaction to come after him. And he made a video. And when I saw the video, first thing was, damn, they got him. Matt Walsh, he's gonna take the kind of the bow. He's gonna say, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said this, whatever. They got him. And I was watching the video and there was no subtitles. So I click open, I hit the volume on Twitter and he's got this look, he's staring dead square in the camera. And he's like, I will not apologize.
Yeah.
And he just took a stand and he was like, I'm not apologizing. I'm not giving one fucking inch to the mob.
Exactly.
And I was like, holy shit, that guy just became uncancelable.
Well, and he said,
because he just said, I'm not apologizing. Like, I believe what I believe and I still think you guys are wrong.
Well, and it's brilliant because he stands firm in his beliefs. But he also said they can't cancel you if you don't agree to be. You have to agree to it.
Yeah, if you're not complicit in the cancellation, they can't cancel you. And what I think, again, opinion, what I think is occurring here is that the pendulum swung so far, cancellations, woke culture, all this stuff. Now it's swinging back. The risk is it swings so far back that we go to the other end of the extreme. I don't think extremes on either end are good, right? No. I actually think the kind of rational view of the world of just like, hey, everyone chill the fuck out and like just go try to do things that make you happy. And as long as you're not hurting other people, like you're good, right?
Exactly.
But the pendulum is swinging back. And I think what it does is it's actually a confidence game. Because speaking of Schulz, when they came for Joe Rogan, Andrew Schulz, I think, was one of the first, if not the first person to be like, yo, all you people who are being quiet right now, like Joe Rogan's helped me in my career. Yeah. Joe Rogan, whatever. He's like, he is not a racist.
Yeah.
Which like was blasphemous to the people coming after Joe Rogan because they were like, obviously he is. Duh. Didn't you see the video that they cut out of thousands of interviews? And again, whether you agree or not, it was like, if you objectively look at that situation, one person stood up and was like, no. And next thing you know, another person was like, no, 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 no. And then it was like, oh wait, it's mob versus mob.
Yeah.
And so I think that is like a maybe it's not a learned behavior as much as it's like people now have a playbook. They see on both sides, the people attacking, they have a playbook. It's very well understood now. Like pretty much if you tell me a situation and you're like, they're going to go after this person, I can tell you exactly how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And the response seems to be getting a playbook. And so it's kind of like now we have competing forces on the internet.
Which is kind of cool.
It's entertaining for sure.
We're definitely like leveling the playing field. Because I think people just lived in constant fear. Of like, oh God, what if I'm, so nobody's speaking their authentic truth anymore because they're scared to get canceled.
And the people who do just say what they believe, even if they're wrong or right, they obviously get a following because people are like, oh, that person isn't scared. And so people are like, oh, I should listen to what they have to say.
Right.
And so in some way, I think the other end of the extreme, the people who were doing a lot of the canceling, I've noticed that they seem a little de-teethed now because there's been some punches back. It used to be just there was one-way punches.
Oh, yeah.
And society was like very much the pendulum had swung that way.
Yeah, totally.
Now, there's still some people who like they love the fight. Right. And like they'll go on either side.
Yeah, it's like.
But there's a lot of people who are like, man, this was a lot more fun when we were doing the punching and there was no one punching back. And so like it's fascinating to watch this because it ends up being labeled, I think, kind of culture wars or whatever. And like at the end of the day, a lot of the shit doesn't actually matter. Right. Like it doesn't impact everyday people's lives. And if you're deep down that rabbit hole of watching a lot of this stuff, like, damn, do you got an easy ass life?
Yeah.
Right? Like, but on the other hand, culture is what makes society. And so there's always been culture wars, but it's not been done on the internet, you know, behind a keyboard in this weird fucking like cancellation
much smaller
way.
Platform. Yeah. But I think it's like, you know, you said if we swing too far the other way, we're going to go way back in kind of time. But those times are pretty good too.
Do you think it would be good to swing all the way back? Like to
no,
the extreme?
I don't think it would be extreme. I think certain situations would be more fun. I think that it would be more fun to work on Wall Street in like the 90s than today. I feel like today, like who the heck wants to work there?
I think that is objectively true.
Yeah, like I want hookers and cocaine. If I'm working on Wall Street, I want hookers and cocaine. If I can't get hookers and cocaine, then why do I need to be there?
So let's take that and kind of apply to a couple of different areas that immediately jumped to mind. First, we live in a society that the war on drugs, right? War on drugs, that appears.
Well, I don't do cocaine. I want to make sure people know that.
We're going to cut that part out. No one's going to know. It appears that we are swinging back. Biden has this federal kind of mandate where he's at least saying, hey, let's look at this. Maybe we need to reclassify the scheduled drug, like all this stuff. Let's pardon people who already went for simple possession.
Yeah.
We're kind of returning pre-war on drugs. Maybe not with the hard stuff, but like marijuana. Okay. Then I do think that there's a lot of people who, whether it's through nostalgia or science, data, or just frankly, they're fed up with the current bullshit, are like, man, the way the world was before all this processed food, that seems pretty good.
100%, yeah.
Then I've seen like the memes go around on the internet of like, look what they took from us on the airplane, right? Where it's like the 2 or 3 people, they're sitting there, they're getting like carved ham, right? There's like not that many seats. You're not packed in, like, oh shit, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, they took this from us. And so like, there's always going to be people who look back to the past and they say to themselves like, the better times are behind us. But we can objectively look and like we live in the safest, most prosperous time in human history today.
Yeah.
Do you believe the future is going to be better? Or do you think that actually there are things from the past that we have to like recreate again today in order to continue to see progress? This episode is brought to you by 8 Sleep. Good sleep is a game changer, and the 8 Sleep Pod is the best sleep machine. I sleep on it every single night. A great night of sleep allows you to be healthier, be more rested, and have more energy throughout the day. And on the brand new 8 Sleep Pod 3, you can sleep as cold as 55 degrees Fahrenheit or as hot as 110 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the secret of thermoregulation. Better sleep, better energy. Get yourself an 8 Sleep. You can go to 8sleep.com/pomp today to go ahead and get $150 off your order. 8sleep.com/pomp. Not only do I sleep on it every night, it literally changed my life, and I begged the founders to let me invest in the company. 8sleep.com/pomp. Go get yourself an 8 Sleep pod and get a better night of sleep.
I mean, I think the future is going to be better because we're going to have advancements in medications and, you know, cures for different things. But it's not going to be better if we don't get our shit together as humanity. And
what do we have wrong?
Well, everybody's fighting. They're not looking out for each other. They're sitting here saying, well, the news tells me to hate you, so I'm going to hate you. This is what people truly believe. And so all of a sudden you disagree with what they say and they're ignited with this hatred towards you, and then they want to cancel you, so to say, right? people need to realize that like us together, like humanity needs to band together and like not let the government or the media dictate who they can like and who they cannot like. If we don't fix that, we're in trouble. But if we can fix that and enough people say, you know what? Barbara likes blue, Becky likes pink, who gives a shit? They're both great people. They're children of God. Move on. Then the future is going to be much better.
Is there somebody in society that you point to and you're like, that person, the way that they are executing their strategy is like super interesting? I have one person in mind, but I want to hear who you would say
Who's yours?
First.
I'm trying to think of.
Like just somebody.
I have a lot of people
who you're like, that's like an independent thinker. That's somebody who kind of walks to their own to the beat of their own drum, I think is a fucking saying.
Elon Musk,
right?
Would come to mind.
So Elon's definitely one.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else?
I mean, Rogan.
Rogan's another one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking Kanye West.
Oh yeah.
I feel like he's
gotten a little extreme lately, but yeah.
Without a doubt.
He is a human. He still has a, you know.
But I think that that's part of what scares the shit out of society, right? Is like, oh, that guy actually, you can't put him in a box. He's not left or right. He's not, this or that. Like, you don't know what he's gonna think, and he has a platform, and so it's like, in some way, he's one of the purest independent thinkers. And again, that doesn't mean I agree with him on everything. It just means that like, if you can look at someone and say, there's a topic, I know what you think. There's something that isn't independent about the thought process.
Well, yeah, it's like they're controlled.
Yeah, it's control, but it's also just like the identity thing.
But it's a lot easier to be truly, truly authentic and say what you want and not be in a box whatsoever when you have enough money to survive forever.
1,000%. Right? He put himself in a position to be able to do what he's doing.
Yeah.
But like, if you went down, I don't know, like all the topics that get discussed in politics, and you went down, I don't think most people could guess with a high degree of accuracy what Kanye West thinks about each one of them, which is almost kind of how it should be, maybe.
Yeah.
Whereas, like,
no, that makes sense.
If you look at other people, and this happens on both sides of the aisle, but also even Republican or Democrat political parties, is I'll talk to friends and I'll be like, hey, what do you think about this? And they'll somehow answer, but it's like, oh, I'm a Republican and Republicans think this, right? And so like my identity tells me that this is how I'm supposed to feel about it.
Right. That's the problem.
Yeah. And so again, politics is the easiest one because it's like very clear. It's like red and blue and there's a topic and this is how they each think. But this idea of like independent thinking, it scares the shit out of society because it is so rare.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting that I found is like I avoid politics kind of at all costs because unless you're with a group that thinks exactly like you, unfortunately, you're not getting anywhere. Nobody's changing your mind. You're not changing their mind. There's no need to argue about it. You avoid it, right? But as soon as people start to say, oh, if I don't agree with something, so to say, I don't say, oh, it's because I'm a Republican or, oh, it's because I'm a Democrat. I always say, oh, I'm in the middle. Like, I learned to think for myself, and I think both y'all are crazy. That actually, from my experience, people just, they don't say anything.
Yeah.
They're like, that makes sense. It's a way to just diffuse the situation because nobody's going to be like, oh, wow, you think for yourself and you're a moderate and you think we're both. Yeah, she's right. Now, if I had said, oh, let's say a Democrat was yelling at, I said, oh, I'm a Republican. Now you got an argument.
Yeah.
Now they're coming at you. But as soon as you say you're an independent, that's what I found, silence.
I don't even say it. Like, I'm legitimately an independent, but the thing I love to do, I have friends that are very extreme on both sides. And I always ask them, I say, can you tell me one thing that you agree with the other side on? And like, and you watch just like smoke come out of their ears, right?
Yes.
And their like brains are combusting. But I do it in a very loving way. But I'm just like, if you tell me that there's 0 things that you agree with another person on, then like you are no longer
Brainwashed.
thinking like, well, I call it like you're just in the religion, right? Like
Yeah.
you literally are just to a T in the religion. By the way, if that makes you happy, knock yourself out. Like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
But
totally.
Like that is way less intellectually interesting to me than if you can sit there and say, hey, this person that I have literally appears nothing in common with. I think that this is right. I think that's interesting. I see where they're coming from on this other thing. And then I disagree on all these other things. Like that to me is way more of a valuable conversation. And so
Well,
my
a more
wife hates
interesting
it,
person too, you know?
but I like to bring them to the same dinner and then like,
Just watch a shit go
well, just
down.
like, hey, you're very left-leaning. Like, what, you think that Republicans are right about anything?
And she's like, oh, jeez.
and my friends are there. But what ends up happening is if you can get the right people in that conversation, it's fascinating to see how much they actually agree on the end state. It's the path to get to the end state that they disagree on.
Right.
They want good things to happen.
I don't know anyone on the Republican side or the Democrat side that says we need to pay more in taxes. Even my friends that are so far left are saying milk's too high.
Mm-hmm.
Groceries, like everything's too high. The gas, like I don't want my taxes to go up. But we got to help these people. I'm like, well, who's going to pay for it? But I don't want my taxes to go up. So it's like, it's the same. Everybody wants the same. Everyone wants to feel safe and have the government take less of their money. But they're not supporting the same party that with the narrative. They're not like looking into the narrative to be like, oh, this isn't going to work. Maybe I should be on the, but hopefully in this country we'll have a third party one day.
You think a third party is the solution?
I don't know what the solution is. I think
That's where I am. I have no clue.
I think like bringing more faith back into every day, like offices and schools. And I think people have lost their faith and they've lost kind of empathy and being a good person. And there's no consequences to being a complete piece of shit. So I don't know what the exact solution is. I mean, maybe Jesus will come back and figure it out. I don't know. But I don't know if there's a solution. I had an interesting conversation with a priest friend of mine.
A priest?
A priest friend. I have a friend that's a priest.
I would love to hear this.
And I said to him, and I think I was watching the news. I don't know. I just felt a little I wasn't having like that great of a day. And I said, do you think the world's going to get better? Or are we screwed? And he goes, well, according to the Bible, this is kind of how everything's supposed to play out. Like, it's really not going to get that much better. Like, eventually it'll get better, but it's going to get worse before
Why?
it
What's the
gets
Bible
better.
say?
Well, all these different things need to happen before he comes back. So there's going to
they're
be
saying
more
Jesus is
wars
coming back again.
and more. He was always meant to come back.
Really?
Yep. He's always coming back.
Damn, my
Yeah.
Bible knowledge is on the decline.
Oh yeah, there was always a second coming.
You know, I went
But
and
you're
I
not
checked.
supposed to plan it.
I went and I checked to see if he was in the tomb.
Well, of course he's not.
No, I was in Israel, and my brother and I,
I wanna
we were
go so
joking,
bad. Yeah.
but we were there, and the tomb where he allegedly rose from.
Yeah.
We went, and there's long. I mean, line was like insane, right? It's now like a tourist trap essentially.
Yeah.
And so we went, we looked in there, and you know, as with many of these kind of historical monuments, like you go, and it's almost like the anticipation is more than you look, and you're like, it's a tomb, right?
Yeah.
So there's not that much to see kind of inside of it. And then we're like, nope, not there. Like positive, right? We checked.
Yeah.
And the people in the line, you know, you kind of then look back and you're like, oh, these people are going to wait like 3 hours to literally go see what we just saw. And like,
Yeah.
you ask yourself, like, probably not waiting 3 hours without the historical context, the importance, like all the stuff. It's more of like the story and the historical stuff makes it what is worth waiting in line for.
I would wait in line for that. I want to see. I haven't been there.
If
to
you
Israel.
go,
I want to go.
just go super early.
Okay, go super early.
As
Because
with-
I just think it would be just such a fascinating, just the feeling of just the,
That's what it ends up being.
You know?
You feel the gravity of the situation.
yeah, and just that like that man rose for us, you know, so we could
So wait, hold on. I'm
do
letting you off the
stupid
hook.
shit.
What is this he's coming back thing?
Well, in the Bible, the Great Revelations, I think it was, that he's meant to come back. And when he rose, he said, I'll be back in 2 days. And each day was 1,000 years. So they're estimating he died around 30 to 33.
Okay.
So if he said...
You think Jesus is coming
days,
back in a decade?
Well, you're not supposed to guess or plan.
Okay.
So I can't say that. But am I prepared for the world to go on forever? Absolutely.
Oh,
am I prepared if he came back tomorrow? Absolutely.
when he comes back, the world ends?
The
Damn, maybe I
believers
don't want
will
to know the
go.
answer.
No, they won't. They won't end. The believers will go. They will rise. They won't die. They will go with him. And then Satan is supposed to come down and rule this place, the tribulation, for 7 years. And it's going to be bad. You don't want to get stuck here. And then he'll come back down, and this will kind of be anew, and he'll run this place. It'll be heaven on earth, essentially, is the theory. But you can't plan for it because it's not, you're just not supposed to do that. So, but I always say, I think you should be ready for anything. You should wake up ready for the biggest day of your life, whether it's a business opportunity, meeting your special person, or Jesus coming back. I think you should be ready for everything.
If you met Jesus in person, what would you ask him?
Why do you love us so much?
Why do you love us so much?
Yeah.
But hasn't he
Because
answered
so
that
many
question?
people have just turned their backs against him and just been terrible. How can you love us so much? You know? And also, what's my purpose? Am I on my purpose? I think I'm living my purpose. But you always want to know, if you could have an opportunity to be like, am I on the right path? Is this the path for me?
This may be the only thing that we're going to disagree on today. I don't think I'd ask him any of that.
What would you ask him?
I'd be like, yo, what's it like to be Jesus?
Oh, okay. That's a good
That'd be
one.
fascinating, right?
Right.
Hey, man, you never wake up and you're just like, I'm gonna fuck some shit up today.
Yeah, right. I
You're never
control the
like,
world.
hey, you know what? I just point and things move.
I know.
That's the
Here's
stuff
a
to me that'd be
question
fascinating.
Here's another question I'd ask him. Why are you letting the devil have so much control? Why does it feel
That's
like
interesting.
he has so much control right now? Why aren't people seeing the full truth of what's really going on? There's a purpose. It could be him testing us, testing his people. We have free will. You got to do the right thing. So maybe he's testing people.
The whole concept of the devil is weird to me. When you really think about how it is depicted throughout history.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a little underground lair. There's fire everywhere.
Horns.
It's kind of a crazy. Yeah. And I always, I'm very interested in the origination of concepts. It's where did it come from? And if you think about the devil, the first person to be like, all right, the concept of the devil, let me draw a fire and all this stuff and everything, that person who actually took idea, story, concept, all this stuff, and put it into visual form. I mean, they set for thousands of years the basic direction of the devil.
But I think I feel like he was a fallen angel. He was an angel, but he was fallen. I don't remember the exact story of how he fell, but he was a fallen angel.
Probably tripped on a stick.
Right. But he's a bad dude, right? I always say sometimes when I'm frustrated, I'm like, damn you, Eve, why'd you gotta eat that apple? We could all been running around naked, just living the dream. And you had to eat the apple, and now we gotta deal with this anchor on the noose.
You were being way kinder. I was just thinking of Adam Sandler. I think it's in Big Daddy where he just throws the stick in front of the roller skater.
Oh yeah, right.
like that's the fallen angel.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Maybe
he's trying to be funny.
Repent. But here's the thing: is we all do stupid shit. We make mistakes. It's part of being human. That's why you got to forgive yourself and you got to forgive others, because God does the same for us. There's certain things, obviously, you just don't want to be a piece of shit. I honestly think some of these people in Washington and other places, I feel that they act as if they're going to live forever.
They are. If you're 78 years old, 75, I don't know how old Nancy Pelosi is, but
She's 82.
Is she really?
Mm-hmm.
She's 80?
She's in her 80s. Yeah.
Yo, to be honest,
she's my financial advisor.
To be honest, if I'm 82 and I can still operate at all, kind of feel like she's winning. Yeah, may not agree with everything she does, may not think that maybe they should be trading stocks and stuff, but like,
yeah,
if she retired, do we think that it'd be over pretty quick? Like
like she didn't have a job anymore?
Well, you know how they talk all the time about like the people who work, relentlessly for decades and decades. And then they retire, they have nothing to do. Or like Mario Andretti, you ever heard the story of him? The race car driver?
Yeah.
He drove fast and the adrenaline would pump through his body so much that when he stopped driving, he went to the doctor and the doctor was like, all your organs are failing. And he was like, what? And he was like, your body thinks that you are dying because it's not getting the adrenaline it's used to on a consistent basis.
So did he go back and drive?
Not really. I mean, I think he probably did some stuff. They probably gave him some treatments or whatever to try to level out and tell the body, hey, you're not actually dying. But like the physiological kind of aspect of having a sustained level, if all of a sudden she retires like that, it's sad because like people make it political. In no way should we politicize people's lives like that. But like it ends up being the situation where you can disagree with the ideas of someone. You can disagree maybe even with their intentions. But to some aspect, like you got to respect these people have done this for so long.
Yeah.
And like, by the way, the consistency of doing wrong things just makes you wrong, right? But like, there's not very many jobs that people do for that long. It's kind of crazy.
It is. I mean, term limits is what we definitely need, but hopefully she lives long, but you're right. When you lose your purpose, your body can quickly fall apart. And you see it all the time. People retire, they get bored, and then they just die.
I also think that politicians, I don't know if you've seen Elon Musk. He started now on the earnings calls. He'll take some questions from YouTube.
Oh, yeah, right.
So
nice.
he'll find like a Tesla channel and he'll like let them ask a question on the earnings call. And some of it is him trying to like stick his middle finger up basically to like the Wall Street analysts who are saying bad things about the company. Some of it is actually like the questions are incredibly intelligent. So he's almost saying like, hey, these people have intelligent questions. Like, let me talk to them. And then some of it is just like, he's Elon, he's going to do crazy things. And like, how hilarious is it to be on an earnings call and take a question from YouTube?
Yeah, totally.
Imagine if the politicians in the press conferences had to always take 2 questions from the internet.
Yeah.
It would completely change the dynamics of politics.
It absolutely would.
No one's safe, all sides of the aisle. Every press conference, you got to take 2 questions from the internet and they're voted on.
I think it's brilliant because then you would actually know what the people want.
Yes. And by the way, they may be the dumbest questions in the world, but if that's what the people want to ask.
But you work for the people, so you gotta answer the people.
Yeah. And so like,
do you know what I always thought with politicians? So
what?
If you're interviewing me to work for this company, okay, and I tell you I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. And you hire me based on those conditions because that's what you're looking for. And then I come in and I do A, B, and C. You're like, but what about X, Y, Z? And I'm like, well, I'm just going to do that instead. You would fire me. So we need to start holding the politicians accountable. If they run on something and they don't accomplish it, they should be able to be fired.
So I agree.
It's a job.
But what I would say, and as I've gone deeper down into some of these rabbit holes to understand how some of this works, I've changed my mind on a couple of things.
Okay.
Technically, they can be fired, which is like the next election. I think what you're saying is like, well, maybe we shouldn't wait 4 years or whatever, right?
No.
But that is technically, I guess, how they could be fired. The second thing is, I agree. If you say you're going to do A and you don't do A, that's a problem.
it's a lie. You ran on a lie.
Well, so here's the caveat, and I think where I've probably I've dulled the edges of how I view this is I think that there are a lot of situations where from the outside, they're essentially uneducated, right? Like they're like, I'm going to do A because it sounds amazing. It's like a stump speech, like all this stuff. And then they get there and they realize like, whoa, if I do A, here's like the second and third order effect of that I didn't understand previous. Or somebody shows up and they're like, hey, by the way, like cute speech, here's the actual way it works, or here's the information or whatever. And then they change their mind. Right? They're like, oh, you know what?
True.
Based on the outside view, like A seems like the right thing, but now that I have more information, like maybe B is the right thing, or A, 1 is the right thing. And so that shouldn't be an excuse for them to be able to lie or to promise things and then not do them. But it is interesting to think about, like, if you say, hey, I'm going to come work at your company, I'm going to do A, B, or X, Y, Z, and then you show up and you're like, oh, wait, now that I see the data, because I don't think a lot of the candidates actually get the information until they get into office.
Oh, okay.
That becomes interesting, right? Because now it's like, oh, wait a second, maybe the data's different. But the problem is they never say that. They never are like, hey, I promised A, but here's the information that I saw. I actually don't think A is the right thing anymore. I now think B is the right thing. Let me explain it to you. Let me take questions.
Well, Barham, yeah, and they don't do that because nobody's held accountable, it feels like.
Well, how many people
So
could
they just,
name, how many, if you went out on the street and you asked people, name as many politicians as you could think of, how many people could name 20 of them?
Probably not a lot.
I don't think that many. And by the way, there's like 1,000 politicians maybe.
Oh, there's so many.
Right?
So many.
So like, if you can't name 20 out of 1,000, you don't care, right? You're not paying attention. Is like kind of the way I think about it. You just, you don't have to say what their policies are, or whatever. You just can't even say their names. Then like, okay, you're just not paying attention.
Right.
Which is a proxy for you don't care.
Yeah.
And I think regardless of what people want, who's gonna, like, you're just not gonna change people's mind. Like, humans are humans. What do they want to do? Like,
people are very
scroll on
stuck
the
in their
internet.
ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So that's why, like, I don't try to change people's minds. I'm just like, okay, here's the information. Do with it as you wish.
Yeah, I just like to bullshit on the internet.
Exactly.
Just sit here and do this.
I don't think I've ever like said something mean on the. I'm just not a mean person.
I say mean things to my brothers all the time.
Well, that's normal. My brother beat the shit out of me when I was little. Do you know, it's in I actually talk about it in the book. It's funny because there's actually something that's no longer true in that book. So when I was little, my brother and his cousin, or my cousin, they were the same age. They used to get me to do everything for them. Go get us sodas, go get us candy, go get us towels, go do, all in the promise that I would receive a farting bear. Well,
a farting bear?
I just wanted a teddy bear that farted. That's all I wanted. It's my dream thing. I never got the farting bear until my birthday this year. So my brother and his wife went to Build-A-Bear and got me a farting bear. Now, Build-A-Bear doesn't make farting bears. So my brother bought the recorder, took it home, ate a shit ton of beans, farted in it, went back to Build-A-Bear, shoved it in a bear, and now I've got this farting bear.
What was your reaction when he gave it to you?
Oh, I laughed so hard because I couldn't believe it was actually his fart in the bear. But I thought, like, it was actually an amazing present. Like, so now it sits on my shelf, but it was like such a formative, thing. But it's like I got so toughened up. You may not always get what you want, but you get what you need. Which for me was to be very tough because my brother definitely treated me like I was a little boy.
I've never done this in a conversation on the show before, but I think that this is interesting. The names of the chapters in your book: Time to Find Financial Freedom, Time to Stop Being Afraid, Time to Step into Faith, Time to Create Your New Amazing Reality, Time to Believe in Yourself, Time to Escape the Tunnel, Time to Stop Being Offended, Time to Improve Your Relationship, Time to Get Out of Your Own Way, is pretty interesting because while the book is funny, while the book is your life, in reality, this book is a pretty quick read to get quite a bit of value out of, hey, if you're sitting in whatever position in life and you're just like, is this it? Is this really what I want to be doing? I think that reading certain books are important. Reading certain books at certain points in time is where like the real magic is. And so there's the collision of ideas and like the time in your life. It feels like for those people who are stuck, pretty good one to pick up.
Oh, yeah. And I give a lot of real world examples of how I was living in the scarcity mindset and how I overcame it. Also, like, you know, with faith and using the law of attraction, that kind of helps you in your mindsets, and your thoughts create your reality. All these things that kind of I woke up to, but it's very unfiltered. I didn't want a filtered book that was just talking at you. There's a lot of like naughty jokes in there that were just real. I mean, I want you to read. You do me a favor. Let me find it for you. I want you to
Should we just read the whole book here?
No, I want you to read page 8, starting with the second paragraph, where it says you were just young, and I want you to read
I already
that
see 3
paragraph
words. I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
and the next one. Okay, you're on.
I don't think I can read this and not get us kicked off YouTube. You were young just yesterday, wasn't it? Fresh out of college and bright-eyed and full of plans. You were going to change the world, get rich, get laid, and or married, and have it all. That meant making a name for yourself, finding something to call happiness, proving anyone who ever doubted you wrong. But more and more, the days go on without the boom ever coming. And shit is so much harder and so much less satisfying than you thought it would be. Life feels like a frat party where you're sucking everyone just so you'll get invited back next time. Problem is every time, it's the same sausage fest. Like, what's the solution? Where's the doorway? And what's the secret sauce? Do you have an audiobook? Because if not, I may be for hire.
I think I might have to hire you. I don't have one yet, but I think it would be great. You just can't censor the keywords.
Yeah, well, you could thank Susan from YouTube. She doesn't like when we say that word.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, she is not as funny.
Who's Susan from YouTube?
She's CEO.
Does she actually censor the DICK word? I said it.
I'm sure that she probably does. I don't know. She's taking videos down. We had her channel deleted at one point. You know, I got a love-hate relationship. Sometimes she sends videos viral though, so hey, you can't hate her on everything.
I think we were pretty clean on this.
I thought so too. Where can people go find the book?
So they can go to Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com right now. Eventually, it'll be in all the stores. It should be in Barnes and Noble soon. And they can order it online. And then I also have a podcast that you have been on, next to Madison. So I'll be talking more about that book on that podcast as well.
What about social media? Where can we send people to find you?
My Instagram is at Real Madison Malloy, and then
Are there
Twitter's,
fake ones? Are there fake ones?
You know, my original one got hacked, and it was so I took my podcast one originally, and then I'm like, so Madison Malloy wasn't available.
Because it got hacked.
Because it got hacked. I had to do Real Madison Malloy.
Yep.
I'm like, I guess I'm Real Madison Malloy.
Got it.
It'd be funny if I was fake Madison
What about
Malloy.
Twitter?
And then Madison Malloy. And then I have a TikTok channel, but only because I have to.
Are you big on TikTok?
No.
Oh, I'm big on TikTok.
But maybe I'll get big on TikTok.
No, I'm
doing
big on TikTok.
How many do you have? You're huge on Twitter.
We got videos. Hey, how many videos we got? We got one with 1 million views.
Pardon me.
Yeah. Yeah, we got 1 million views last week.
Did you?
Yeah, I don't know if that's actually good or not. I have no clue. I've never even been on TikTok.
I think that's
Somebody else
fantastic.
uploads the videos, but they said we're big on TikTok.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is my theory on TikTok, is most of the people who are big on TikTok that are like a little bit older, they're not actually the ones on TikTok. It's just people uploading the videos from Instagram or YouTube.
Yeah.
But I'm big with the kids.
I feel like you have to go on it. You know what? TikTok's
I feel
amazing.
like a grandfather saying that.
I feel like actually if you start looking at certain things, you start searching certain things.
I can't get on.
But
I can't
there's
do
great
it.
information.
You know why I can't do it?
Why?
Can't help China. And I feel like I'll get
yes.
addicted. I feel like I'll get addicted.
You will get addicted. I have profits on there that come up in my algorithm. Doctors about supplements, side hustles.
Wait, real quick, 'cause you told me you're taking a supplement that is like a wonder drug?
Yeah. If you go,
not medical advice, Susan.
This is not, right. If you go to TikTok and you literally type in NAC.
NAC.
Nancy, Apple, Charlie.
Yep. It's like the longevity thing,
the
right?
whole, like all the videos and the comments, this thing, it like helps fight free radical damage. So when you travel on an airplane, you should double up on it the day before and the day after, right? Because when you're flying in the stratosphere, the free radical damage is higher.
Did you know that your taste buds change in the air?
No.
That's why they changed the type of food that they serve?
Oh, interesting. Is that why everything's so salty?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also why a lot of people order tomato juice, supposedly.
Oh. think
I didn't know any of this.
Tonight.
I read an article. It's kind of like sleeping at what is it, Hampton Inn or whatever.
Yeah, right, yeah. No, but I actually, flight attendants need to take this. I was on a flight and I told people about this, but I'm telling you, a skincare
NAC?
woman, it's called NAC, a skincare woman told me to take this. She
Okay.
was like doing a facial for me. And I started taking this thing. I won't live without it. There's
Really?
a reason the FDA is trying to ban it and you can't find it on Amazon.
Oh, FDA is coming for
Because
it?
they want to make it prescription because this stuff is so good. And you can get like $250 for like $19.99, okay? I am never tired, never sick. The only reason I caught a little cold last week is because I forgot to take it for like 5 days. This thing makes your immune system so rock solid. I feel like I could lick a subway pole and nothing would happen to me. It's giving me like dynamite. And then I was on TikTok and I saw this other guy come on. He goes, there was a study out of Baylor University that they might have cracked like the fountain of youth is what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, these two supplements over the counter taken together could be the fountain of
What's
youth.
the second one?
NAC was one and the other one was Glycine.
Glycine. That sounds like some Clorox shit.
Yeah, so you take those together. So I'm going to go and pick up some Glycine.
Glycine.
Yep.
Not medical advice.
Right, no, it's not medical advice. It's all natural. But
what
like
is
it works-
glycine?
I don't know exactly what it is. I have to do, but it's another
You should
cellular
not look at
type
it. No, you
damage
should not
or
look
cellular
at what
health.
it is. Don't look at what it is. Just take a bunch of it, like
just see
over
if
the
I
next
get
couple
really
of weeks, and then just see like what happens, and then look to see what you were taking. It's kind of like you ever gone to a restaurant and they like
a placebo.
they've got like some like fancy looking name or whatever, and then my thing is I usually turn to people like, hey, what is this? Like what's that mean? And they're like, oh, it's like a liver or heart or whatever. You're like, I'm gonna just get the burger.
Yeah, right, exactly. But no, it's supposed to be amazing.
All right, NAC and glycine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do research.
But the NAC thing, I mean, I swear by that, and I'm not like a big like supplement. Like I take what I need type thing. But this is the one that
I only take one thing every day. Well, two things actually. No, three things actually. Yeah, just three things.
Are you sure?
Yeah, emergency. I
Okay.
pour the little thing powder because I kind of feel like a scientist when I'm making it, and then I get
Yeah.
a drink. It's supposed to be good for you. Two is athletic greens. I'm like obsessed.
Yeah, I heard that's great.
Yeah, the AG1. I'm so obsessed that they advertise with us. I'm an investor in the business, and if I could figure out how to take the powder and have it be made into like food, so that I could eat also and feel like I'm getting the same thing, I'd do that.
Yeah.
And then the third one is the equivalent of like the Flintstone gummy, like multivitamin.
Okay.
I don't think it actually does anything. I just like the idea of, like I took a little thing every day, and you're supposed to like get all the vitamins.
You can do the gummy ones?
Yeah, I like those much better.
I can't do the gummy ones. You want to know why?
Why?
I'll eat the whole fucking bottle.
Yeah, they do
One
taste
sitting.
very good.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd get those vitamin C ones, and I'm like,
Now the emergency is like a unlock. I think anyone who's ever lived in New York or New Jersey or anywhere like in the Northeast during the winter, you take 2 emergencies every day, and you're golden.
every day.
Oh yeah,
How
every
many
day.
milligrams
You're
of
not
vitamin
supposed to do
C
that.
is
Not
in there?
financial or
Yeah, not
medical
funny, yeah,
advice.
right.
I think you're only supposed to take 1 a day.
Well, how many
By double up.
milligrams of vitamin C is
I
actually
have
in
no
it?
clue.
Because they say you're supposed to get around 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, but you can't go to the store and buy 1,000 milligrams because your body can only process 500 at a time. So you should take 1 in the morning and then 1 in the
See, that's what I
afternoon or
used to
later.
do. I think I used to take 1 in the morning, 1 at night, and then I was like, well, why am I doing that? Why don't I just take them both together? So
Well-
maybe I'm doing it wrong.
Well, because you're just gonna pee it out. It's not gonna cause you any damage. So you're just basically peeing away your money. My parents take more vitamins than anyone I know. I literally they got vitamins for the morning, the afternoon, the night. I mean, pounds of pills.
You should replace them all with just like placebo pills and see if they notice.
I know, right?
Don't do
No,
that
but
if they have medical conditions.
Yeah, but they're not on medications like all their friends, except like
Oh,
things
so they're
they
not
need, like,
yeah, they're just like vitamins.
They're just vitamins. They're so healthy, but they're not on high cholesterol and all these other
Yeah.
drugs that people in their 70s typically are on. They're not on them. But I think it's a little bit of an overload. So my sister-in-law and I, we always joke that we're like, they have the most expensive piss on the block. You know what I'm saying? Because they're just being, because you just get rid of all this stuff.
The
So,
fish
like,
oil
that
is the
being,
one I got a lot of friends. They take the fish oil.
Yes, and flaxseed oil is really good for your skin. I haven't been taking that. That reminds me,
Flaxseed
I
oil?
gotta get it. Yeah.
Nah, that sounds weird. I'm out.
Well, there was this one guy I knew that I
Collagen?
used to work.
They got that? They put in your drinks?
I need to do that.
Yeah, it tastes like chalk. I'm out.
I know, but if it makes your skin look better, I'd like to get those huge, like deep, like radio frequency things that just like
Hydrofacial.
suck you
My friend
No.
is the chairman of a company that owns Hydrofacial.
That's a good one though, but it doesn't provide the results that you need. Like I like the. No, I mean it does. You look great for an event, right? But if you really want, like, you need the Morpheus or the CO2, like the ones where you're crying basically and holding
like
on
if
for
somebody's
dear life.
pressure washing your face,
Yeah.
then that's like the good stuff.
Yeah, it's gonna get you this stuff. But I do like the hydrofacial. I do like it. I'm just saying, like, if I want some lifting and tightening, you got to go for the laser.
Can I leave you with one absolutely insane fact that you're gonna like be like, I cannot believe that one, that's true, or two, you're admitting it publicly?
What?
I was 27 years old, I think, when I met Polina.
Okay.
And one day we were talking and she said something and I was like, and you know, like when somebody says something and you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to admit something and I know it's not gonna be well received.
Yeah.
I had that moment. And then she like was like, what? And I was like, nothing. She was like, what? And I was like, I figured like, well, I should just tell you this now. I've never washed my face before. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, yeah, like the only time I've ever washed my face was like with a bar of soap.
Oh, like in the shower.
Like in the shower or whatever. Yeah, but like I like face wash. She was like talking about, I was like, I grew up in a house with 5 boys. Like that wasn't a thing. Like we didn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And she was like, that's disgusting. And so now, fast forward 5-6 years, whatever it is, like, what do they call face masks?
Yeah.
Every guy I know does them. None of them like to talk about them. So
The sheet mask or like the actual like mask?
no,
where you
like
put it
the
on?
scrub stuff, like or like the, you know, it's kind of like a lotion or whatever, but then gets hard on their faces.
Yeah.
They all do this shit, but no one like talk about it. So
Men's beauty has gone through the roof.
I like to wait till we're all at dinner and like, you know, everyone's like girlfriends, wives, whatever are there and be like, so guys, what's the latest face mask y'all are using?
Yeah, right.
And everyone gets real quiet. Everyone's like, hey, shit, I ain't gonna admit that. And immediately the other people are like, oh, he likes this one or he likes this one. Gets them every time. All right.
Oh, it's great.
Time to lighten the fuck up, a self-help guide with a side of humor. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you
Everyone,
so
go get the book.
much.
If you don't get the book, then you just don't have a good sense of humor. So
Yeah, buy the book.
we'll do it again in the future.
Perfect. Thank you so much.